Let's recap the Tommy Fury and Jake Paul fight. Now, I haven't really done any martial arts content on my channel, but I've done martial arts my entire life, and I think it's about time, now that the channel's getting some views and a bit of traction, that we start including a little bit of martial arts content and maybe some fight breakdowns, some fight predictions. So drop me a like and let me know down below if this is what you want to see. But yeah, I watched the fight last night live, and I thought, in all honesty, it was a pretty good fight. I'm seeing people online slate it, people saying Jake Paul's awful. I'm seeing equal amount of people say Tommy Fury's awful, Tommy Fury should be ashamed. First things first, before we even dive into any breakdown of the fight, I hate this whole attitude where we shame fighters. There's like an unnecessary expectation of how good Tommy Fury should be and how good Jake Paul should be. Let's just say it as it is right now. Jake Paul is not really a boxer. Okay, yeah, he's earned a little bit of respect, but he's fought retired old MMA fighters. Now, granted, Anderson Silva, one of the best to ever do it, one of my favourite fighters of all time, but he was 50, was he 51 when he fought Jake Paul? And he went the distance, okay, he got knocked down, but he went the distance. And he had Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley was on like a 4-5 fight losing streak by the time he actually was fighting Jake Paul, and is like one of the most trigger shy people in the UFC. He never puts his foot on the gas. It was only like in his last fight versus Vicente Luque that he actually done something and started fighting, and unfortunately he lost that fight. But Tyron Woodley was a great fighter, and then Ben Askren, obviously we know Ben Askren was not a great striker whatsoever. Why would we assume Jake Paul to be amazing first off? So all these people who are saying Jake Paul looked terrible, no, I think he actually looked a little bit better than maybe what I thought he would have looked. I thought he had a pretty decent showing. Now, he is just a one-trick pony. It's like the right overhand. At the start, he started off with a few decent jabs to the body and that, but then he just, as the fight went on, got a little bit addicted to throwing the overhand right, and it was obviously due to the work that Tommy was putting in with the jab. That being said, he obviously still needs to flesh out his game. Now, moving on to Tommy, a lot of people are shaming Tommy for not being as good as he should be. We've got to remember that he's, 8 fights in, or that was his 9th fight now. No one has a clue about Mike Tyson's first 9 fights. This is what Jake Paul's actually said this, in fact. No one knows about boxers' first 10 fights. People often don't hear of boxers until they're like 20 fights in, 25-0, 30-0, 30-1. You don't really hear about boxers until they're deep in the game, really. They've got to go through all these journeymen. And then people who were slating Tommy Fury's lack of competition depth, if you like, and the standard and quality of competition who he's fought, yeah, that's what the majority of boxers fight when they first start out. So Jake, yeah, he's fought retired MMA fighters, but they're not boxers. And then Tommy Fury has fought actual boxers, but yeah, they're mainly journeymen. So both of these fighters are novices at the end of the day. They are novices. We have to understand that that is the standard, okay? Now, another thing, Tommy Fury was coming into this fight with immense pressure, like unbelievable amounts of pressure. Try to put yourself in his shoes, okay? He had a baby, like, who he's seen for, a few days, and then left to go back to training camp so he could immerse himself within training camp. Hasn't seen his daughter in 3 weeks. That's hard, especially as a father. It hits you deep to the core. He would have had sleepless nights and that, like, that would have affected his performance. And then also, the entire build up to the fight, the fact that his brothers were constantly saying stuff like, oh, we'll leave you in Saudi Arabia if Tommy doesn't win the fight, which is funny, and we know it's just brothers winding each other up. It's to be expected, but it's still added pressure. Tommy can laugh it off and be like, ha ha ha, yeah, okay, whatever, but we know that would have got to him a little bit. The whole 2-year build up, you know, the first time they were meant to fight and he had the rib injury, everyone was saying that he's ducking Jake Paul and that he's scared, which I hate as a fighter myself. It's like, do you think that Tommy does not want to fight? As a fighter, he will want to fight. No fighters are really scared of each other. It's a rare thing when a fighter is scared of another fighter. The majority of fighters have big egos and want to prove that and think that they are better than the opponent. Tommy Fury has always thought that he's better than Jake and has always had that belief in himself. He gets a rib injury, now the whole world is against him, saying, oh, you're backing out, you're weak, you're scared of Jake Paul. And then you've got Jake saying stuff, playing the mind games. All of a social media is going at Tommy Fury. And then it happens again. His visa falls through and everyone's saying Tommy Fury's scared. Tommy's had to go in to this fight with all this added pressure. How much weight was on his shoulders, do you truly think? And I'm just trying to look at this at a completely objective standpoint. If Jake would have won, I'd put respect on his name. If Tommy won, which he did, put respect on his name. I am not really biased to either party. If Jake would have won, I wouldn't have really cared. I'm more of an MMA fan. I'm not really a fan of anyone in boxing, really. I do like watching some of the bigger fights, but, you know, I didn't really care. So I just think people need to respect the fact that these lads have got balls, stepping into the ring, fighting each other in front of millions and millions of eyeballs on a super big stage. It's very difficult to do with that pressure. So when I seen someone on Instagram say Tommy fought crap and they've seen 10-year-olds fight better than these two, or they've seen 10-year-olds spar better than Jake and Tommy. First off, sparring is completely different from an actual fight. Sparring, you are more relaxed. There's no pressure when you're sparring. So often, you get some fighters who are phenomenal in the gym, and then they step into the ring and they're terrible, and they never realise the full potential because of the pressure element. That's one thing that Conor McGregor was amazing at, is the whole pressure side of things. He could rise to the pressure, but there's so many fighters out there who never get past being good outside of the gym. They can't do it. So fighting on an actual event is completely different from fighting in the gym. So you compare it to sparring. Sparring doesn't matter. What actually matters is the night. Now, when it comes to the fight, I actually thought, when I was watching it live, Tommy was winning it clearly. I don't think it was a super close fight. Was it a little bit close? I'd say it was competitive. I'd say it was a competitive fight, but it wasn't a close fight the way I had it watching it live. I thought Jake had 3 rounds and Tommy had the other 5. For the most part, just my initial reaction. I was trying to score it objectively. Me and my mate, we were going back and forth on WhatsApp saying who we think got that round. And I think what it boiled down to is everyone's talking about that knockdown at the end of the fight. It was a knockdown. It wasn't a slip. When it happened live, Tommy was claiming it was a slip, but it wasn't. It was a knockdown. It was a knockdown because he walked into the jab and he lost his footing. So it was a balance issue as well as getting hit with the jab. He wasn't knocked down because he was rocked. It wasn't knocked down from the power of Jake Paul. We've seen it happen in MMA time and time again. If you move in and they're moving in at the same time, the punch doesn't actually have to have that much power. It can knock you off balance or it can knock you out because you've got 2 people moving in at the exact same time. So it doubles the power output, essentially. That's what happened. You can clearly see that Tommy's foot slipped because his head went back and his foot slipped. So that's why he fell back. But he stood up and he was completely coherent. So I wouldn't say it was like a super powerful punch. It was a knockdown / slip because he was off balance. But, you know, credit to Jake for that. Now, here's the thing. People are saying that that was a 10-8 round. A 10-8 round isn't an automatic score given if you get a knockdown. It's only a 10-8 round if then you get that knockdown and then you actually continue to dominate that round. If you go back and watch the 8th round, Jake didn't dominate the rest of that round. He landed that knockdown and then like 2 other punches. I think it was 3 total punches he landed in that round. Okay, one of them scored the knockdown, but as I say, it didn't rock Tommy. He got knocked down to the floor, stood straight back up and was like, yeah, I'm completely fine. So it wasn't like a devastating blow where Tommy was doing the chicken dance. He got knocked down, got straight back up, and then Jake only really landed one other decent shot, which I think was an overhand right when Tommy was on the ropes. But I actually see the rest of that round as Tommy winning it. I was trying to look with a critical eye when I was watching it. I was like, okay, he's got the knockdown. But then, similar to the way Tyson Fury did when he got knocked out in the Deontay fight, in the first fight, he actually put it on Deontay heavier and then came back and essentially was winning that round after the knockdown. So that's the question then of like, okay, should Jake have got a 10-8 round? If then Tommy gets straight back up and then actually continues to put the pressure on Jake and lands some pretty decent shots himself after the knockdown, really, you could argue that it was a 10-8 if he dominated the round, if Jake dominated the round, but he didn't. So 10-9. 10-9 to Jake, not a 10-8. So this is where I think the majority of the controversy is happening, is about that round. We had one judge scored it for Jake, and when they came out with that, when they said whatever the score was to Jake, I was like, what are you messing? I was thinking, no way, this is going to be fixed. So they've released the total punches of the fight right here. Jake Paul got a total of 49 punches landed. Tommy Fury got a total of 88 punches landed. Now you can argue that, well, Jake Paul's punches were a little bit more devastating. Yeah, I guess so. But one thing that I clocked onto when I was watching the fight, Tommy was landing some pretty decent shots. And I even thought the commentary, and I'm in England, I was watching it on the British broadcast with the British commentators. No one was recognising Tommy's punches. I can't remember what round it is. Someone comment down below. But Tommy went bang, right hand, bang, right hand, bang, right hand. I think it was like 3 hooks in quick succession. You could see Jake's head twisting, like pretty significant heavy blows, and they wouldn't barely even say anything. And then Jake had landed like an overhand right that was like more of a grazing, glancing blow. And oh, watch out for Jake's power. He got Tommy there. And I was like, wait there, Tommy's just landed 3 big shots on Jake, twisting his head round. And then Jake grazes overhand right, and everyone goes, oh. I was like, where's what the hell? The proper bias here? And I know total punches doesn't really show the big picture, because if someone does land less punches and they are absolutely devastating and create loads of damage, then yeah, that's where you make the arguments that the total significant strikes doesn't really matter as much. But I thought in this fight it was clearly evident that Tommy, not easily, but pretty significantly. Now, obviously, there's a rematch clause. It's a little bit shady the way, like, if Tommy won, Jake gets a rematch. But if Jake wins, Tommy doesn't get a rematch. But, you know, that's business, politics of boxing for you. Yeah, we can probably expect a rematch. I think if there is a rematch, I think Tommy will be even better, because now, from a boxer's mindset, let's face it, Tommy is a better technical boxer than Jake Paul. He had his flaws. He was dropping his guard. He got caught a few times. Like, it's normal. He is a novice, but I think he's going to make bigger improvements between now and his next fight, whether it's with Jake or someone else, compared to Jake and his next fight. I think Jake has kind of hit a little bit of a peak now. I could be totally wrong. I'm not being super critical yet. I'm just thinking, I think Jake's hit a little bit of a peak where he's had his exponential growth, and now he's going to get slower progression. Tommy is still young. He's 23 years old. And Jake's young. What is he, like 26, 27, 28? Something like that. I don't even know. But I think Tommy will make bigger improvements, bigger strides. So that's what I expect going forward. The main motivation for me wanting to make this video is, as a fighter myself, something that I've done my entire life, I hate it when people comment on fights like as if they know anything about it when they're not fighters themselves. You haven't got a clue. If you've never trained in any sort of martial arts or boxing, you've got no clue. It's an ego thing. I know it's completely ego based. You can see someone's made a mistake in a boxing fight and go, oh yeah, he should have done this. But from a fighter's perspective, I don't like that. I don't like that other people can comment and critique boxers or MMA fighters on what they should have done. It's like me, I'm not that great at football because I never liked it. If I committed myself to it, I'd be good at it, because I'm quite good at any sport that I dive into. But I'm not a big fan of football, never was. When I watch a football match, I don't sit there and critique it and go, what's he doing there? Ronaldo should have went left instead. Oh, you idiots. What's going on here? Why aren't you attacking? I've never been the type of person to do that, because I understand how hard they work. Who am I to say what they should be doing when I haven't played football since school? I'm crap at it. So who am I to comment on it? If you're sitting there with a big fat belly drinking your pint and you think that you're solid and you're commenting, oh, well, they're crap, they're crap. I've seen it all over Facebook, all over Instagram. A bunch of dad bods who've never had fights in their lives, don't know anything about fighting. They just think that they're hard because they hang around other men who facilitate their BS and their crap talking. They think that they know it all. And a lot of these fellas who think they can fight, who might have, say, had a street fight, you had a street fight against someone who didn't know how to fight. A lot of people don't know how to fight. So it's 2 crap people having a fight. You won it. You are the better of the 2 crap people having a fight. So you're still crap, okay? Just because you knocked someone out once, or you hit someone with a right hand and you're at a street fight, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you know anything about boxing. So stop, or MMA, stop commenting on it. I'm sorry, that's just my ego. You can comment whatever you want. That's just my ego as a fighter. And listen, these fighters on an actual high level feel the exact same. They get angry at the critics for saying this stuff about them. But that's me anyway. Let me know if you want me to do more fight breakdowns like this, because I've seen every single UFC event from the day that it started. I used to be a big Pride fan. I do watch the big boxing fights as well. So if you like these type of videos, let me know down below, because fighting is pretty much my life. It's where it started. I wouldn't even have a gym or be a personal trainer if it wasn't for martial arts. So yeah, I can talk about this type of stuff every single day. Let me know if you enjoy it. If you're new to this channel, I upload a diverse array of content. A lot of fitness stuff, a lot of man stuff, relationship stuff. Have a little look through my channel, and here's some extra videos if you want to check out more content, and I'll see you tomorrow.